Hi, this is Tom with Arizona StRUT. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our laptop refurbishing process. When we actually do the laptop configuration, some of the steps that we take. For example, we're going to stick with a given make and model. For example, you'll see this is a Dell, and I'm going to give you like 3 different Dells. They're all same kind of make and model, which means they're going to have many of the same parts. And as far as kind of the same generation, very close. So we've got these 3 Dells, and these are very typical of incoming. In other words, this is how we get them. They're all scratched up, not this label. We'll be putting this on. You'll see a bad corner here. It's missing a battery. This one happens to be missing the hard drive as well. This one, again, missing the hard drive, battery, and you'll see some tape and labels, etc. on these. Some note, it says for salvage only. We don't listen to the notes. We got this tag, eventually we'll have to take it off. Anyway, we end up with these. We're going to choose enough to where we have enough caddies, enough batteries, enough hard drives to get a certain segment done. If we were looking at 100 of these, it's very likely we may only get 40 or 50 completely completed, in that we've got all the other parts. However, first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn them on and do a BIOS assessment. Now, this is not the same make and model, but we do have a BIOS. It's a good example of a BIOS. And so what we're going to do with this BIOS is we're going to check and see how much RAM is. This has got 2 gig of RAM. That's our minimum. If we get to the BIOS, we know that the motherboard is functioning, the computer is functioning. We can often, many laptops are going to give us a BIOS test even if there is not the battery inside. Sometimes they do. They can give us a BIOS test without the hard drive. Again, we know that the laptop's functioning. That's what we're after. So what we're going to do first is get a lot of these up, run a BIOS assessment, make sure the laptop's functional, because maybe 20% won't be functional. Great, we're going to pull those off, make sure we use those as cadavers for all the RAM or whatever, caddies, hard drives, etc. Because we might get a laptop from another donation where it's not functional, but it's got all the rest of that. So we're going to do a basic BIOS assessment. Does it come up? How much RAM? We're also going to be looking at the processor to ensure that it's a 32 or a 64-bit laptop. We do a lot of sorting on that. In other words, when we're donating to our schools, we're going to use 64-bit machines, not 32-bit. Doesn't mean we won't work on the 32. We're going to put it in another batch because that's what we're going to work on our techie camps. So, in essence, that's what this first segment's about. Getting the laptops, categorizing them, do a BIOS assessment, and then we start determining which ones we're going to spend some time on. For example, this can be cleaned up. There's no bad corners. Hopefully the screen is good. If we've done the BIOS assessment, we've determined if it's got a good screen as well. For example, this one we're not, because it's no keyboard, but the rest of the case is good. Swapping in a keyboard is not a big thing if that's the only thing wrong with it. So this is where we're kind of doing a triage to determine what are the ones we can invest in and which ones we're going to use as cadavers, use the parts for the other. For example, this one, when we got this broken corner, this is just going to use this for parts. As we go through the process, now this has got one of our tags, and I'm hoping to get it up there. And this is where we start writing in how much RAM. If it's got an operating system, we're going to be looking at this COA. Can you see that? There we go. In other words, does it have Windows 7? Does it, is it Vista? If it's that old, etc. Not that we're going to load Windows on them, but if we donate them out, and somebody needs to load Windows on them later, it makes a big difference. So we do look at that and put it on that tag. This tag stays on for a while because when we get later on, we probably won't be able to test for wireless right away, but we will be testing on down the road, and that's one of the tags. So the next thing we're going to do after we've determined that is, if we've got this segment of 100 laptops and we've pulled off and said, hey, these are the 60 we're going to try and get up and running, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to load Linux. Now this has already been loaded, but you can see a Linux screen Of course, when we do a Linux load, most of the time we try and use a flash drive. We can get a load in 10, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes when I'm working with introductory students, we'll even use DVDs, etc., because these still run $6, $8, $10. And if we get them out there, a lot of times they leave at the end of the day. And a DVD-ROM cost me a nickel. This cost me, I don't know, $8. So you can tell when we're working on the loss that, anyway, we try and do the flash drive because it's faster. Anyway, we're going to be loading with Linux. This happens to be a Linux LXLE 16.4 load, and that's what we're using right now, December 2017. I really believe we're going to be going next April when the 1804 comes out. Whether it's LXLE or Ubuntu, we'll be going with that load. But that is it. That's the tech side of some of what we're doing with refurbishing. Anyway, if you're helping us out, thank you very much. If you'd like to help us out, give us take a look at our website, azstrut.org, and give me a call, send me an email. Thank you very much.